Dependent origination, paticca samuppada. Dependent origination, paticca samuppada, is the Buddha's complicated teaching about the conditions under which suffering enters the world and the conditions under which it is possible to get rid of it. In this way, the teaching is the full explanation of the second and third of the Noble Truths. Two ideas are important for an understanding of dependent origination. First, dependent origination works in terms of conditionality. One thing is a condition for another. In simple language, if you have one thing, another thing follows. If you do not have one thing, the other thing does not follow. For example, if a person has a strong feeling of pleasure regarding some sensual object, he or she will have craving for it. If the person can get rid of the strong feeling, the craving will no longer exist. Feeling is a condition for craving. If you have feeling, craving follows. If the condition of feeling does not exist, there is no craving. Second, dependent origination is a process that does not involve a self. Compare anattata, the no-self character of everything that exists. Dependent origination is a process in which things, that is, states or phenomena, things that show themselves like feeling and craving, are related to one another conditionally. No self is involved here. Dependent origination, then, can be stated in terms of 11 sentences about conditions. 1. Ignorance, avijja, is a condition for mental formations, sankhara. 2. Mental formations are a condition for consciousness, vijnana. 3. Consciousness is a condition for name and form, mind and body, namarupa. 4. Name and form are a condition for the 6 personal bases, ayatana. 5. The 6 bases are a condition for impression or contact, vasa. 6. Impression is a condition for feeling, vedana. 7. Feeling is a condition for craving, tanha. 8. Craving is a condition for clinging, upadana. 9. Clinging is a condition for the process of becoming, bhava. 10. Becoming is a condition for rebirth, jati. And 11. Rebirth is a condition for old age and death, jara marana. And so the whole repeating cycle of suffering continues. Another way to look at dependent origination is in terms of the 12 steps involved, each step being a condition for the next. 1. Ignorance. 2. Mental formations. 3. Consciousness. 4. Name and form. 5. 6. Basis. 6. Impression. 7. Feeling. 8. Craving. 9. Clinging. 10. Becoming. 11. Rebirth. 12. Old age and death. These 12 steps are spread over 3 lives: ignorance and mental formations, past life; consciousness, name and form; 6 bases, impression, feeling, craving, clinging and becoming; present life; and rebirth, and old age and death, future life. Here is a table of the 12 steps of dependent origination spread over 3 lifetimes. We'll skip over the table. Independent origination groups from the 12 steps can be explained in terms of conditionality. So in the present life, consciousness, name and form, the 6 sense bases, impressions and feeling, are conditioned by ignorance and mental formations from the past life or lives. In the present life also, 5 steps: craving, clinging, becoming, and ignorance and mental formations. conditioned steps in the future life or lives. Furthermore, rebirth and old age and death are the conditions for consciousness, name and form, the sixth sense basis, impression and feeling in the future life or lives. So dependent origination is a circular process that repeats itself because of continuing activity, karma, by body, speech or mind, following volition. Ignorance, which appears as the first step, is not some kind of first cause. It is rather part of the repeating cycle. It must be understood, furthermore, that the steps in dependent origination are not just related in the order in which they are given. Each step in the dependent origination is conditioned by other steps besides the one that comes immediately before it. This is why the teaching becomes so complicated. It is important to note that in dependent origination, karma causes do not produce karma results. In other words, in Theravada Buddhism, karma does not produce more karma. Karma produces certain non-karma effects: consciousness, name and form, the six sense organs, impression and feeling. If karma produced more karma, human beings would be subject to fatalism or determinism and would not be able to free themselves from suffering. In fact, since karma produces non-karma effects, it is always possible in dependent origination, for example, to put a stop to the process at feeling, and do not let feeling arise and develop into craving and then clinging. Independent origination, then, the cause-effect relationship, ignorance and karma formations causing certain effects, works within conditionality, in which the 12 steps condition one another in a circular way. Conditionality is not the same as cause and effect. Conditionality means that if certain conditions exist, certain things will result. It also means that if the conditions are taken away, the resulting things will disappear. So dependent origination explains how suffering arises. It also explains how it is possible to get rid of suffering. If ignorance can be gotten rid of, then mental formations will stop. Consciousness will stop, name and form will stop, the six sense organs will stop, impression will stop, feeling will stop, craving will stop, clinging will stop, becoming will stop, rebirth will stop, and old age will stop. In other words, the whole process of arising of suffering will come to an end. Rebirth will no longer happen. One more thing should be said about the meaning of conditionality in Theravada Buddhism. In Theravada Buddhism, conditionality means, first, the conditionality of dependent origination. It can also be said, however, that conditionality in a bigger sense means the fixed character of the laws that govern the world. Niyama, fixed character of law. Everything in the universe works according to laws. Everything follows universal laws, natural laws. The 5 kinds of natural laws, niyama, considered in the commentary to the Abhidhamma, are concerned with the following things: physical non-living things, example, the seasons of the year follow the same order every year. Physical living things, for example, when a mango seed is planted, a mango tree grows, not an apple tree. Actions and results of actions, example, greed, anger and delusion bring unwholesome karma, while unselfishness, loving kindness and knowledge bring wholesome karma results. The mind, example, consciousness, which is just knowing that an object is there, always works together with perception, feeling, and mental formations. The order of the norm, example, certain usual events happen in the life of a Buddha. The Dhamma, finally, is the universal moral law, the natural law. This universal moral law is contained in the Four Noble Truths, and further developed in the teaching of dependent origination, which explains the second and third of the Noble Truths. In the Christian religions, the natural law is the law in the mind of God. The final benefit of following this natural law is to go to heaven, to be with God forever. In Theravada Buddhism, the natural law is contained in the idea of conditionality. The final benefit of following the natural law is reaching the perfect happiness and peace of mind of enlightenment. Theravada Buddhists do not follow the commands of God. They use conditionality as a guide and do those things that are moral and that produce wholesome and beneficial kusala results. Ultimately, they do what is right, moral. They do what is beneficial and wholesome, and they make their mind pure. Not to do evil, to be moral, to cultivate good, kusala, what is beneficial and wholesome, to purify one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. To purify the mind really means to have no kama at all.